We're going to go ahead and get started with this next showcase session. We're fortunate to have a high school presenting. Oftentimes we hear lots of requests, more information, more examples from high schools. And so these are a couple good colleagues and friends of mine from Fulton High School. I will let them introduce themselves. If you've got questions, comments, put them in the chat. I'll monitor those. We'll leave a little bit of time at the end for questions and comments as well. So Daniel, Josh, it's all yours.
Well, hello, I am Daniel Rector. I'm the Executive Director of Student Services for Fulton Public Schools.
My name is Josh Pierce. I'm the assistant principal of Fulton High School.
And so, what we're going to talk with you a little bit about today is how the high school has worked to integrate the positive referral system into our school-wide acknowledgement system. Just for some context, as we're going in, a little bit about our school. The high school is a 912, so a standard configuration for a high school. You can see our demographic breakdown there. We are a predominantly white school district. The high school runs at about a just shy of 50% free and reduced lunch rate. The district as a whole is at about 55. The high school itself does have about a 21% mobility rate, meaning whenever you look at how many students did we have transfer in and how many did we have transfer out versus how many we've had total throughout the year, that's kind of where we land. Um, I don't know, Josh, talking a little bit about our history here with implementation of PBIS. It's one of those things where the district as a whole has been a long time implementer.
hmm
The high school has had several restarts, fresh starts.
Yeah, so 7 years with Fulton High School. It was PBIS at the high school when I got the position in 2019. But the buy-in and the practices and expectations have grown a lot over those 7 years. So.
So I jokingly tell him as I chaired the district PBIS team is we've had practice now. It's time for us to perfect it. So what we're going to talk a little bit and connect it to with the TFI is the 1.5, so the school-wide acknowledgement system there. You can see there the different criterion metrics associated with the tool. But now I'm going to actually turn it over to Josh a little bit,
Mhm.
and he's going to talk about some of the reasons why this was important for the school this year, one of their focus areas, and kind of what they did.
And again, some reasons that I think are important to talk about with your staff, especially in a high school setting where it does take some discussion to get buy-in. Just recognize and reinforcing positive student behavior, strengthening our student-staff relationship, promoting our positive school culture. And then we've been able to recently utilizing this through our Infinite Campus, been able to track our positive referrals, just like we would our Big Five data for office manager referrals. And then, I think our staff find that it kind of gives that, answer to this is why we do the job. And those are needed, I think, working at a high school. So there's been a lot of fun, a lot of good things that have happened with our staff. And I'm really proud of like how much they've kind of leaned into this. So.
And to just kind of reinforce something you had said is we don't try to create a new system with
Mhm.
this. We are a newer Infinite Campus district. This is our third year with it.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I've been trying to build with the district is if we're already tracking our behavioral referrals in Infinite Campus, there's ways for us to do positives. Can we also do it there? You guys have done positive referrals in the
Yes.
past, but it was like a Google spreadsheet over here or something else. And so now we've been able to connect it all together within Infinite
That's
Campus.
correct. And we still use our spreadsheet for our other processes as far as recognizing students, but we have it in Infinite Campus to help us track and see which students are receiving them, which students haven't received them. And that's helped us out even more in trying to encourage our staff to recognize our students. So trying to break this down into three simple pieces about our positive referrals is just our daily recognition, or just a simple positive referral, how we implement that. And then we support that through weekly positive referral drawings. And then to kind of help start or ignite our staff. We do staff competitions, and that just sort of helps kind of break the seal. So that way, for some staff members, you get those first couple in, then all of a sudden it's no big deal. But it is a good jump start to kind of reignite our positive referrals. So daily recognition, I think it's important here that it's simple and efficient. So we do enter it into Infinite Campus, but we have a separate spreadsheet that we use that generates a mail merge, and you can kind of see the ticket there. We tie it to a blow pop, and we have these little certificates that we get from Taco Bell, and then students aides deliver those tickets during our seminar period, and students get to receive it, and it has the teacher, what the positive referral says, and it's pretty efficient. Like I said, we can do a lot very quickly, which is important.
For context, you said seminar. What would seminar be to?
That's like a study skills course. We do other things with it, but you guys are probably more familiar with like a study skills session, extra support time.
Mhm. I think back in my day it was quote unquote homeroom, but that's a naughty word and we don't use the word
No.
homeroom. There's structure to it, but it is a consistent period 9 through 12. Every student has it. The teacher starts with them in ninth grade and continues to have them in 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade.
That's correct. And they work on reaching out to parents, being sort of a liaison between parents and school. Ideally, that's what we're looking for. So, to support our positive referrals, we do drawings every Friday, and we recognize the teacher and the student. So every positive referral that was put into in a week's time get put into a drawing, the student and the teacher, and we draw. And whoever wins gets to pull a prize from our prize pantry, and then they get a Sonic drink on Monday, both the student and the teacher. So we take pictures of the staff and their student. We send it out. We try to make a big deal about it. And then we get a lot of feedback from students that's rigged and that, they're really excited about it. So we always got to make sure that we get it out there. But this is one where I actually won that week with my student there. And I usually donate my drink to a staff member. So. And then our staff competitions, I think this can be very important. To ignite, to reinvigorate your staff. But we try to have a goal. The goal is not to get, a ton of referrals. That will happen. But what we're trying to do is get 90% of our staff to submit at least 4 referrals in a given week. And we track those referrals and we get them out. And it's a lot of time and effort because the number of referrals are going to go up quite a bit. We just have to get a little extra help on handing them out. Um, the staff are incentivized for every referral they put in, up to 4, they can get a drawing for a $25 gift card that is donated by our wonderful principal, Miss Katie Bolin. If we meet our goal, we actually do a second winner as well. And during this week, and I might be on the next slide here, you might try. There are a lot of like things we do to kind of keep the momentum going. So we will put out emails every morning about where we're at, how many referrals have been put in, um, what percentage we are with staff. And one thing that we did this year that was very powerful was we actually shared a spreadsheet that we updated um, consistently with students who had received referrals and by default students who had not. And we started seeing a lot of staff making sure that a student who wasn't recognized got recognized, and we actually shared that data too. So that was really powerful. So last time we did the referral, the staff competition, we were able to get around 400 referrals in 1 week, which was exceptionally high. And we did meet our goal of 90% of staff members putting in the referrals. And then towards the end of the week, I actually kind of met with some teachers, had great conversations about, what we're trying to accomplish here. And I think that's very powerful too, in that you kind of get to recognize which staffs need those those answers, those questions, and what we're trying to accomplish here. So, but that's kind of our three parts to the process there, as far as daily recognition, weekly positive referral drawings, and then staff competitions. And I don't want to make it sound like we got it all figured out. I feel like we have all the pieces there, and we've worked really well. But and now we have a good plan in place moving forward, and something that we're excited to continue next year. So.
So, speak a little bit about maybe some staff resistance that you've experienced, because you mentioned having some dialogue and some
Mhm.
conversations, maybe some more tougher conversations about some adult staff members who may or may not believe in the power of recognition, and maybe even something that, not saying that you rigged
Mhm.
anything, but you
No.
might have been very intentional with some of the first steps whenever you first rolled this out with who
Oh,
got
oh
one.
yeah. So there was one that was rigged, and that was a teacher who had been with the district for 35 years, notorious for not doing positive referrals. But I made sure he won that week, and we promoted it just so everyone could see, hey, this guy does it. If it's okay for him to do it, it's okay for me, and it worked. And he does positive referrals all the time now, and he is a very well regarded, respected teacher that's going to be retiring at the end of the year. But some of the conversations, some of them kind of disagreed with the competition in general. Like what, it should be intrinsic motivation that I'm writing these, not extrinsic. So then we had conversations about, just referrals in general and what we're trying to accomplish here and whether or not they want to be a part of that. And maybe even pointed out some things like, well, we had opportunities to write referrals. So how many do we have so far? So there's a lot of self-reflection in those, and just but I think the point, even just that somebody would come up there and just kind of ask them and answer questions politely, but in a way kind of hold them accountable, was very, very helpful. One staff member in particular was like, okay, it was more for like, I'm going to do you a favor, Josh. And she put in 4 positive referrals because that was the minimum. And then by the end of the week had put in 4 or 5 more. And I noticed that she had went through the spreadsheet of the students who had not gotten any. And these were students that, she had felt like needed recognition. So, so it was just one of those things where I think when you're just having those conversations and trying to explain the reasons why, a lot of times they'll do it, and then they recognize and see the benefit in it. Because students will come up to you, they'll talk to you about it, and that's the great piece about it is, students are always excited to see they talk with you afterwards, and there's a lot of the intrinsic motivation comes sometimes after it's all done. So, but yeah, some good conversations about how we're, sometimes, I'm not seeing a lot of positive behaviors. What am I supposed to reward them turning in their work? And then we have conversations about, well, if we're rewarding positive behaviors, maybe we'll see more of those behaviors in the future. So, but again, I think it's just about having the conversations and those one-on-one and doing it in a way that doesn't, make them feel, condescended to or, you know, uh, but that opens the door and I think gets them going.
Mhm.
So,
And gives you an opportunity to be able to tether it back that intrinsic is always where we would love to be, but sometimes we have to start extrinsic, or even just the system of the intrinsic pieces, us being able to connect them to the natural reinforcement that comes whenever you're providing that reinforcement, that dialogue, and that conversation. Okay, so whenever we start looking at how, what does this impact look like? I've got some data here. I've been very intentional about trying to track over the course of this year, because I've been with the district for 3 years, just kind of some year over year trends. Because I'm always analyzing, because I do hear from people like PBIS doesn't work at the secondary level. And I'm like, okay, well, before we throw it out, let's look at like, is it really that it's not working, or what is the data showing us? So on the left is our office and positive referrals per day. And so you can see that we started doing some of the positive referrals last year. And so we had some of those, but we also had a lot of kind of office referrals. The per day metric means that what I essentially do is I look at how many referrals are given in a perfect, like a a month or across the year and divide it out by how many instructional days. So you can see that 23-24, we were running at about 8 office referrals per day. During 24-25, we dipped down to about 6.75, where then we started seeing some use of the positive referrals to whereas this year so far, now keep in mind this is in progress kind of data, but up until whenever this presentation was due, we were averaging about 5.3 referrals per day at the high school, and we were seeing 7.29 referrals. Now, I will be very transparent. If you look at that right-hand side, that line graph of across the months, where were we landing? That March run right there, that staff incentive where we had a lot of buy-in, we did see some huge results with those referrals. So you do see that kind of staggering. But it's an ongoing dialogue to be able to look at this data and go, huh, those months where we happen to see increases in the positive referrals that we're generating, we also happen to see some dips in the behavioral referrals or the negative referrals. And conversely, where we see dips with our positives, we happen to see increases in our consequential. I can't say A equals B, but that's interesting food for thought. Whenever we look about staff and student impact, we did have about 65% staff participation. And whenever I say staff participation, that's a different metric than what Josh was saying earlier. I actually looked at across our categories of was this individual who participated within our transportation, food service custodians, student services, that dot 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 is student services. So that's my social workers, my school nurses, my school counselors. Was it a member of administration? Was it a support staff member, meaning a paraprofessional, administrative, clerical, those type of things, or was it a teacher? So whenever Josh said that 90%, the teacher participation was there. Whenever we broaden it, this gives us opportunities to figure out, we didn't have any custodians participating, or we didn't have any of our food service workers participating. Why might that be? And so is it that they don't know how to do it? Do they not have access to it? So that's just conversations at the building team, whenever they're looking at how do we make sure that all staff members are participating. What does that look like? I will say transportation says 100%. That does not mean that I have 100% of my bus drivers that are participating. Right now, there's only 2 people from the transportation department who can enter in referrals, and both people entered referrals. That's why that's 100%. What is also really nice to see, that is a number that is very promising, but I do want to challenge us to go better, is that so far this school year, 82% of the students who are enrolled in Fulton High School have received a positive referral. And so, again, that's great. Over 80% of our student population. I would love to see 100%. Maybe not attainable, but 95, 96, 97. And so whenever we see this over time in terms of our big picture, on the left-hand side, this is the triangle data. It's really hard to make a graph look like a triangle in Excel, not gonna lie. So pretend that those are triangles, those lovely yellow, green, yellow, and red graphs that we normally see. And you can start seeing that this is where we've been progressing year over year. This doesn't necessarily attend to the health of our school-wide acknowledgement system, but kind of talks about our larger systems. And I'm constantly saying, we need to grow the green. We need to grow the green. Because that's what teachers do best, is that instructional practice that's the core of our tier 1. And then on the right-hand side, you can see our office managed per day count or average of referrals across the 3 years. And so what has been really, really promising is, we've had some fluctuation. We had some highs and lows that first year, that's the blue. We saw some decreases with our orange, and we've seen some nice decreases or levelizations with the green. And I've been really fortunate to be able to look at this data. It's a whole different slideshow presentation, I'm sure, about how we can use this data for predictive indicators about where we would expect or anticipate spikes to occur, and what can we do to try to prevent that or kind of do some planning around that data. So here's some next steps for us. Number one, the TFI, the 1.5, you saw that criterion was a 0 to 4. We scored ourselves at a 3 for that. I'm going to let you talk some of the next steps, if that's okay.
So like Daniel said, we feel like we do have a lot of our good pieces together, as far as it's just going to be putting it onto a calendar and following a map here. So we're very excited. I do think that we are going to be striving for 100% of our students to receive at least one positive referral. As I said before, that was a very powerful motive for our teachers, and I think something that's going to continue. And I'll be surprised what that number will be by the end of just this year. And then as far as like staff. Uh, Percentage participation. Some of that is going to be just trying to get Infinite Campus to update some because we do have custodians and
Hmm.
um, but I think we're going to start seeing some numbers. 95% is definitely a realistic goal, and I'm not sure that would have been 2 years ago, even a year ago. So we're very excited. Just sort of, and we do have a building leadership team that we call the Hornet Way that promotes all this and works with us on this. So that's going to be good. If you are getting started, um, especially if you have an assistant principal in charge of the Hornet Way, the positive
Hmm.
referrals, keep it simple, keep it efficient, something that can get done uh, throughout the daily grind. Because as soon as you start falling behind, it's going to get overwhelming, and what doesn't get done, it's just going to fall to the wayside. So keep it simple for staff. I think having discussions on positive behaviors are something that's important for the staff. Usually at a faculty meeting, doesn't have to be very long. A lot of times it can be led through your building leader or your building level team. But either way, you're still going to have teachers who have different reasons why, and that's okay. That's okay. But have try to define what positive behaviors are, and support your teachers when they are putting in the referrals. Share data regularly, highlight the successes and your student impact. And then things, if you're getting better, just make sure you're using data to guide continuous improvement. That's kind of where we're at too. And then make it fun for students and staff and give your students some voice.
Big thing, student voice, always
Yep.
lean into, especially with those 9 through
Oh,
12.
so we do have a student panel that's made up of students from all grade levels, all different backgrounds. They're kind of selected by their seminar teachers, and we provide a lot of feedback on our. In fact, they were the ones who insisted that we continue our weekly
Hmm.
positive because that was only supposed to be done for a month last year. Instead, they asked that we keep it going. So, student voice is important.
All right. So Tim, I'm going to kind of hand it back over to you for Q&A time.